So we slip into the 1645 turn, and big news, the Fronde. This would be negated had Richelieu remained in command in France. I don't know, we lost one excellent minister, I think Olivares. Yeah, he's gone from Spain, so that's going to shake up the numbers a little bit. We may have also had, yeah, I think the Dutch lost their leader as well and got a better one, so no big harm there. So the Fronde is kind of a weird little rebellion. There's no rebels as such. What happens is at least half of the counters in terms of weight have to be handed over to the rebellion. Now the rebellion consists in this case, and the French get to choose which armies to hand off. They handed off the least they could in terms of total strength, which is 2 down here in Italy, which is quite far away from what they have to do, and 1 up here. And then they get a random leader. Historically, I think Prince of Condé, their star at the time, was associated with it. But instead they got this guy. Who's not, or no, I'm sorry, this guy. I had to swap leaders. He was the guy over here. The rebellion is going to be controlled by the French, or by the Spaniards. And if they succeed, it's worth 10 victory points. And it creates a dynastic crisis. If they don't succeed, well, they just sort of stop being rebels. It doesn't have any effect on the New World. And the only goal to it is to capture Paris. If they capture Paris, they've successfully overthrown the monarchy at this point. What would happen, etc., all left kind of out of the equation because obviously it didn't succeed. So it's not like the French Revolution coming early or anything like that. It looks pretty unlikely, but they're able to get reinforcements. And the French themselves are not going to get any income from their provinces, which is going to be a huge blow. That's like 300 ducats in this turn. Other things that happened, Netherlands got a +3 diplomatic bonus. They took it on the Palatinate. England got an agricultural crisis. Remember, they had new agricultural techniques. Well, it seems to have caused problems for them. The Dutch didn't have a problem with it. The French got corruption, which is going... It doubles the cost of new units, which is going to be a pain in this. And it also increases maintenance, and it doubles the cost of buying campaigns, etc. So I don't think France is going to be intervening in England this turn. Spain, if they can get there, can intervene in France, but only under the condition that they're stacked with a French rebel unit. Other countries can also intervene. Some can intervene in France's behalf. I don't think anybody's going to do that. They can also intervene at Spain's wishes and permission in with the rebels under the same conditions. They can send 1 unit to stack with a French unit. Now, the Spanish would really like to get the Cardinal Infante involved in this because he's a pretty good leader, and they don't have anything better to do. But it looks like a long trek to nowhere, essentially. Coming up from Naples, they could actually link up with one of these armies in Italy. Unless it's a long round, though, they're not gonna get much out of that. What else we got? Yes, the Turks also got corruption. Now, for Turks to get corruption, not only does it increase their costs, and they're probably going to take a pass on declaring war on the Mamluks again this turn, but it flipped over, in this case, it's a random number, 1 die of 10. But in this case, they 3 of their pashas became corrupted. And corruption is just this flipping over. We've seen it before. It increases the cost of the pashas, and they have a lot more pashas now than they did before with the addition of the Near Eastern territories. I think that's about it, really. The Dutch got colonial dynamism. I didn't go into that. I know that. I may have mentioned it. From that, they get a free fleet, which they took here in the Mediterranean, an extra point there. They're interested in getting the Mediterranean trade center. Now, what's weird is the Dutch have no possessions in the Med, so the Mediterranean Trade Center would end up in the Netherlands, which is always kind of funky when it happens, but whatever. They probably won't keep it too long. They also got... Oh, do they have to take that on the rest of the world? I'll have to look that up because I may have to change that. But they also got a +1 to all rest of the world actions and a free strong additional trading post action. So you can see they're already set up for a trading post here. They'll probably be getting several levels of that. And what's kind of cool about that is they can start exporting sugar. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's the best thing they could find, with the exception of the thing France had already laid a marker on. And France has a better leader there than the Dutch do. The Dutch are using their leaders, positioning them where they probably want to colonize instead of trading posts. They're conquistadors. Whatever. Alright. I guess I need to do all that economic crap. Yeah, my worry was correct. The Dutch can't take it in the Med. They have to take it on the rest of the world map. They ended up taking it out here where they already have one. It's the most valuable to get a monopoly in that they can really reach. I don't think there's any other 30s out there. So, that seems like a good place for them. In the diplomacy phase, although none of the major powers, went to war or concluded any major alliances. Alliances are rare in this game when I play it. I suspect with more people, in an opposed game, that they're more common. But you're not really forced into them. Usually it's not obvious that you're going to war. And you may not want to be dragged in. So unless players have a defensive bond that they want to make. Now, we may soon see a Spanish-English Dutch alliance to bring the French down. Really just again and again to hit them because they're too potent at this point. Hasn't happened yet, and it could actually happen during the Fronde. It's not like a normal Civil War situation, but everybody's got their problems. Anyway, a lot of action happened over on the diplomatic chart. We saw Sweden switch hands into the English. They also picked up some status over here with Ohio, which is essentially the Iroquois. Spain got Venice, Genoa. They got the Palatinate, which the French were also fighting for. The French went for the Palatinate in Cologne, looking, because we're coming up on the turn when the election's due, looking at trying to influence that election. They know they've got some support from the English and the Dutch on it, but they're afraid they may have to go it alone because it's very important to them. There aren't a lot of electors left, right? I mean, Habsburg, Austria holds the Bohemian one. I think that's the only one they hold. Prussia, Brandenburg has one, and somebody has them. The Dutch have them already. One problem, the French didn't have enough cash to defend Sweden. It's one of the issues. When you spend on diplomacy, you're actually risking the diplomacy of all your other allies. You can allow kind of the Prussia flip-flop or whatever, the Prussia-Austria flip-flop of the 7 Years' War, where if you target one, trying to create a bond across the board, well, somebody else could be shooting yours too at the same time. Alright, on to the administrative. Okay, so we pushed through the administrative phases, and wow, that corruption has kept the French from building up a bigger army. Of course, their rebels didn't get much more. They got one detachment essentially added to their force, and that's here. Expansions? Oh, yeah, we got the French and the Dutch expanded up here. The Dutch set up a colony up in Alaska, which isn't the easiest thing in the world to do. You can imagine it's kind of cold there. Other people largely filling out their territory. The French pulled up some more in Louisiana, for example. But beyond that, I'm talking about just filling up the numbers in the colonies that they already have on the board. We see the Indies Orientalis is back in place. I always have to remember this. I tend to forget it. Just pop them there. Those don't affect. We had some people bumping over the Baroque. I think no, not the English, the Spanish bumped over it. Over here, everything should be in good shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Okay. So that's all we got there. Not a lot changing this turn. We got the Dutch rushing in, trying to get more shipping in place than the English are in the non-Mediterranean section of the world. I don't think they can catch up, but the English have a lot of trouble with these pirates showing up, and the Dutch are hoping to get kind of a little bit of an edge on them while the Civil War is going, maybe reclaim this. It's cheaper than going into the Mediterranean. They're getting their free shipping fleets back. Now, I think how the rules are actually written, those would just reappear anyway, which kind of makes privateering pointless, unless you're going for the Spanish gold, and it's pretty questionable anyway. But anyhow, the way I'm playing it, it's not so easy for the Dutch. Their shipping doesn't come back everywhere one per round, but they're able to boost it up at higher values. They were able to get a lot of the Baltic back. I may be mistaken. I haven't bothered reading the rules for a long time. Never mind reading. Shut up. But this is how I've played it all along, and I kind of remember having changed the rules to suit my own taste here. Not any argument that this is more historical. It's a model that's not terribly focused and correct. So tweaking it doesn't really harm it, I would say. Well, there's not a lot going on right now, so the first turn isn't as exciting as it sometimes is. Got a little bit of redeployments over on the world map, just trying to optimize where things are at the beginning. So, for example, the English Explorer ran over that they just got to handle bringing that fleet back, maybe take less losses. Some exploration, I don't remember where. We had a French conquistadors still there. Dutch played around. Stuyvesant's been moved here because he gives a bigger bonus there. Actually, what I ought to do is swap him here along with Reebok and move the Explorer over there to California, because California is pretty easy to colonize. Basically, I don't want to take territories in California without a successful, without the ability to lay a colony down at this point, because otherwise in a couple of turns somebody else can just jump in there, and that's kind of dangerous. Over here I'm planning on sending Reebok towards Surabaya. If he doesn't make it the whole way, that's fine. I can keep I can use Stuyvesant over here. He doesn't have an American-only symbol to colonize Java. The English fighting. Cromwell marched up and attacked these royalists here, thinking he'd beat up on a little stack. It didn't work out that way. He got repulsed and took more losses, and now he's in a weaker position for hitting the royalists. I forgot to roll for them. I forgot to do anything with them, really. I had to consider that because they've got to move their troops into there and make that roll. Pushing forward into the third round, the big effect is Rupert once again has destroyed Cromwell down here, and he's free to act however he likes. The French managed to pretty much knock out one of the Fronde armies. Now they're kind of reconstituted up here. I should turn that upside down to help me remember. And we also have the Cardinal Infante pushing in, kind of pulling this other unit here off the route to Paris. things are very free in France. They can move around as though they own everything, pretty much, which changes the nature of warfare significantly in this game from what you normally see. Oh, did I want to move the Dutch? Yeah, I forgot to do them. They've got some exploration to undertake, and I kind of skipped their turn thinking, they don't want to do anything. Moving into round 4, we see Rupert setting up another siege, but exciting things happened here. What happened was that first unit, which was stacked with Condé, moved into here. Actually, Condé attacked it, and they got an indecisive result. Anyhow, he moved north. Condé intercepted him, moving away from him. Again, stuff that doesn't happen under normal circumstances. Got to kind of fudge it here. But that left the route open for the Cardinal Infante to lay siege. Got a limited result so far. But Condé wiped out that rebel army. So this is sort of the last chance. And if that siege succeeds, then the Fronde succeeds. But Condé still has a pretty decent army. It's not as big as that Spanish army, I don't think. The Spanish-French combined army. But we'll see. No matter what's happening, though, the French army is being decimated here. And there's a lot of talk going on. Dutch and Spanish. Can we raise an army? Can we hit them in time? Probably not. Dutch, Spanish, English. We've got to take France down. How do we do it? Turkey, hey, you're getting bullied. Can you help us somehow? I know you don't probably want to go to war with France, no matter what. There's not much for you to gain. But if you move your pirates in, you might be able to tempt him into a war. We could have a defensive alliance. What could go on here? I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of... I don't usually in my solitaire games of this see this much diplomacy going on at the table. But usually somebody's not running away with the game the way France looks like they might be. In the 5th round, Condé was able to drive the Cardinal Infante away. Now, the Cardinal Infante has one more chance definitely to go in there and fight if he wants it. Hard call. I think he's going to go for it. If he can do this, it helps, and he can just keep taking losses on the French. Well, the risk to all that, it came out to fruition. Condé rolled well both times, destroyed not only the Fronde, but also the Cardinal Infante's army. And because there's a -6 to the wound chance, and I rolled odd after that, the Cardinal Infante is gone. Now, he would have been a threat over the next couple turns that he would have been alive in. But now he's no longer there. He's the equivalent of the Prince of Condé in terms of values, actually a little better at siege. But he's a 4-3-4 with a -2 siege, and I'm dripping on my map, it's so hot. So that's a big loss to Spain. They lost a potent leader whom they could use if they were going to war. The Dutch have an interesting leader in Siegen. He's got a 4 firepower, but only a 1-shot combat. He doesn't want to actually fight. So, yeah, in the melees. So it's going to be more challenging now. The Spanish probably shouldn't have made that attack. Well, we still got the English revolt. Nothing else is really happening. So now we're at an interesting stage. It's the end of round 6. I'll make a quick roll. The turn has not ended yet. The Royalists just took another big city. What's this? Lincoln. I don't think they want to keep moving. Well, it's only a victory point. If they get lucky, they can take something else out. That's the problem. But the thing is, with ports and everything, they have almost no chance to do anything. The French, of course, could move up to the coast and position themselves, but the English are able to move back into the channel and defend that if that happens. France is done with the Fronde. I think the turn is over here. The only question that remains, and the English managed while the French army was involved elsewhere to get rid of the rest of the pirates. I think there's no real point for anyone to do anything. Oh, except for the English. They can run down and try to get rid of that. So I guess we'll keep going. Well, the turn lasted all the way out until round 7, and the English were able to get rid of, what is this, Kinsale. But they went further into Connaught, and they lost one battle, but dropped the Irish down to 1 strength point. The Irish pulled into Londonderry. Now, there's a disadvantage to having garrisons in a city for a siege, but it's only a 1-point penalty, and they weren't able to get the siege, and they weren't able to do anything about that, about the revolt, so I pulled them out. Other than that, well, we gotta do the end of turn administrative type stuff, and then I'll come back with what the results are. Okay, so that solidified things. We see some leaders changing hands. So Rupert has become a royalist naval leader. James has taken over the army now. He's nowhere near Rupert's skill. The French, they got Turenne, one of the great leaders in this game. 5, 4, 6. Now 6s are kind of weird, and only a -1 for siege. 6s are kind of weird because most leaders who have a 6, Frederick the Great and Marlborough being the only exceptions, have a penalty to their survival checks in combat because they're at the forefront of their troops or whatever. Anyway, at the end of it all, we got some points, and France did quite well. They're up to 601 now. The English actually lost points at 451. Russia gained a teeny bit, 1 point, 447. Dutch are back to gaining, 519. And of course, Spain and Turkey are so far behind, right around 100 points still. Spain lost points again, I think. Anyway, got a lot of good stability. The Dutch and the Spanish don't really want to jump in the war without at least English financial aid, and they'd really like to see the English help them. Discussions sounded like, well, the English are interested in taking out some of the colonies in North America. Each person would get one thing basically out of it, and the Spanish would like to get an Italian province, and the Dutch would like to get one of the Flemish provinces. Just 2 of them, I don't think, can hold it, and especially in the condition things are now. Remember, essentially, France was taking on this coalition, with Austria included, from a weaker stance with Turenne and Condé. So this is the period where France is supposed to be able to handle everyone, and they've made themselves enough enemies that they will, without the Spanish succession, without any events driving it. It's just going to happen through the nature of the diplomacy of the game. Anyway, I'm going to load this one up. We'll also see action, I'm sure, elsewise. Ooh, we got to get rid of Gustavus, too. I missed him. He dies early. And we got a Prussian on the other side of him. All right, up it goes.